Hey everyone, it's Riley, and today it is finally time to set up my bullet journal for 2022. So the journal setup that I'm doing today is one that I'm hoping will be really accessible to all of you who are maybe starting journaling for the first time, or maybe you've done it before but you're just kind of trying to reset here at the beginning of the year. So what I'm doing is a really simple journal setup. I'm using really one key color and then some neutrals like grays and black, and not really doing many doodles. So it will be pretty easy for you to pull together even if this is your first time ever even touching a bullet journal. I will be carrying over some of the yearly spreads that I included in my 2021 journal setup, and I am going to link that video here in case you want to check it out. But I'm also trying a couple of new things, but I would love to hear from you guys down in the comments. What kinds of pages and spreads do you like to include in a yearly journal setup? So if you enjoy this kind of content and you have not already subscribed to my channel, I would love to have you do that because I have a really exciting lineup coming up. So my next video is going to be all about how to actually start a bullet journal. So whether, again, you're starting a new journal for the first time, or maybe you're just looking for a reset, hopefully that video will be helpful to you. I am also planning to post alternative like 2021 setups. For those of you who don't know, I sell custom bullet journals on Etsy. So I have set up like dozens and dozens of 2022 bullet journals throughout the span of 2021. So I am going to be sharing some more of those if you're looking for alternative ways to set up for 2022. So please do join me here on my channel by subscribing. So grab your journal and a few markers and a black pen and let's get started. So here's the journal that I'll be using for the first half of 2022. Again, it's a journal from Archer and Olive. I used their journals throughout all of 2021 and I just cannot say enough great things about them. So this specific journal actually is not currently for sale, but if you are interested in getting one for yourself, you can head over to their website. I have a discount code linked in the description, and I promise you will not be disappointed. Their designs are absolutely stunning. So opening up to the first page here, I'm setting up a really simple title page for 2022. And like I said, I'm keeping my color palette pretty simple as well. So the key color that I decided to use was this green Tombow dual tip brush pen. And this is number 228. I'll also be using two grays in color N79 and N89. And as I go through the video, I am going to try to mention all the products I'm using, like the journal, like these markers, the stamps I'll pull out later, and just know they will be linked in the description along with discount codes for pretty much everything. So for this title page, I just set up a little box and I'm putting a grid inside of it. I have been so obsessed with grids lately. I set up this one random weekly spread for November full of grids and I just loved it. And since then I've been using grids in almost all my weekly spreads and decided to actually carry that over and use it as kind of the key element here of my 2022 setup. So on top of the grid, I'm going to write Hello 2022, and I'm making a little sort of label here. So I've got that craft paper and then some white paper that I'm pasting on top. And the craft paper that I'm using is actually a roll of like craft washi tape from Obujo. It's super handy, but obviously if you don't have this, you can definitely just use normal craft paper or paper that you get in an Amazon parcel or something like that. And then I'm using my stamps from Paperwrld. These are my favorite to stamp out 2022. So that's the title page. Very simple. Moving on to the next page, I decided to jump straight into like planning related spreads. So last year I included a few other things. I tried out like an index and I had that grid spacing cheat sheet that I've seen so many other bullet journalers use, but I never opened to those pages, not once throughout 2021. So I decided to skip over that kind of stuff and just jump straight into the spreads that actually help me with my planning. So this page here is going to be a big 12-month future log. Even though I'm only using this journal from January until June, I like to see the entire year at a glance, especially for things like birthdays, holidays, and like bigger trips or something. It's just really nice to have this all in one place. So again, I'm pulling out my stamps from Paperwrld to stamp out the headings for each month. And let me tell you, I love these stamps. I honestly wasn't sure if I'd like them because I'm such a huge fan of like hand lettering and actually writing things out in different fonts by hand, but there's just something so beautiful and special about these stamps from Paperwrld, so I've been using them a lot. So now I'm adding in another sort of pattern to these boxes, not quite the grid that I used on my title page, but more of like a lined paper sort of look using my darker gray and then a bunch of lighter gray lines going horizontally. And as you can probably already tell, the most time-consuming part of this journal setup is just going to be drawing all these tiny lines. So you definitely don't need to do all of these, or you can do them like, I don't know, kind of as you go through the year if you don't feel like setting this all up in advance. Because yeah, my hand was getting a little bit tired of going back and forth on the page like that for so long. So to do most of my main headings for this 2022 setup, I decided to use this sort of monoline calligraphy. And what I did with that is I used my Mr. Pen black multiliner in the largest size. So that's what I did for all of these big headings, and then I used this little pen from Rytech. You could really use any black pen for this, and just sprinkled some dots like right around the title. That's really like the full extent of the decorations that I'm using in this setup. And these little dots were inspired by a different creator over on Instagram. I'm not 100% sure on the pronunciation of her name, but I will definitely link her account down in the description box. She just has such a beautiful way of sprinkling these elegant little like spots and dots all over her spread, and it just adds so much excitement while being such a simple thing to do. So that's what I did for my bigger headings. Now moving over to the next page, yes, this one looks exactly like the future log. So this one is actually going to be similar to a future log, but it's more for like tasks, priorities, monthly focus, goals, things like that. I found last year in my future log, I didn't use up tons of space with like writing out events and birthdays and trips and stuff. But then I started adding in like, you know, some video ideas for that month, or like some projects that I wanted to try that month. And my future log just got so overcrowded. So for 2022, I decided to actually split those two things up and have my future log itself, which is just for dates, events, birthdays, holidays, whatever. And then this page is just for like tasks, projects, goals, and just sort of personal things that I want to work on throughout that month. So in this 2022 setup, you will notice I don't really have any spreads that are focused on like memories or reflecting on the previous year or anything like that. And that's something that I did a lot of in 2021, but I decided to actually change that up for 2022. So in 2022, I'll actually be using a whole separate journal for reflecting, collecting memories, doing journal entries, and things like that. Again, I just found that my journal got kind of crowded when I was trying to combine those sorts of things, like my planning with my like memory collection. So I moved that over to a separate journal. So all of the spreads that you see today will be much more focused on tasks, projects, and planning. So moving over to the next pages here, these two pages are going to look exactly the same, and they work in a pretty similar way, but they're just slightly different. So on the left side, I'm going to have my when did I last spread. So this is the place where I can track bigger tasks that don't necessarily have to happen super often. So for example, things like getting an oil change, changing my toothbrush, booking a dentist appointment, things that I want to do multiple times in the year, but I just don't always have them on my monthly calendars because they're not super regular events, you know? And then over to the other side, same idea, but specifically with cleaning tasks. So maybe things like washing the outside of the windows, wiping down the baseboards and the light fixtures, things that don't happen super often, but I want to make sure that they do happen. So that's what these two pages are for. And if you do want to see like some still photos of all these pages, I plan to post still photos of everything over on my Instagram. I would love to have you guys join me there as well. I post still photos of my spreads, and I also set up all of my weekly reels over on Instagram. So now I'm just going and putting in the titles here. So again, this page I call my when did I last page, and then I'll write the task in that big left column. And then I've got the first 6 months of the year, January to June, and I'll put either a dot in the month that I complete that task or even the date within that month, just so that I know how frequently I'm doing these things. And then same over on the other page for cleaning. So this next page here is a little bit different. This one isn't so much about like planning and projects and stuff. This one is about health. So I'm setting up the same health tracker that I used in 2021. And this is a spread that I found quite useful throughout the year. And I feel like it could be really, really customized to meet your needs. So for me personally, I mostly just use this to track my period, but you can also track things like migraines or lack of sleep, fatigue, or if you do have some medical conditions that you just want to keep an eye on throughout the year, I feel like this is a really great way to do that. So I've got the numbers 1 to 31 down the side, and then I'm making a column for each month so that there's kind of one square for each day of the year, or of the first half of the year in my case. And then beside it, I'm going to use some more of that craft paper washi to make a little heading for my key. So in the key, I like to use it both to track like my actual health issues or symptoms, so my period, headaches, lack of sleep, and I'll use a key color to do that. So colors are for the symptoms, and then I also like to track what kinds of like supplements or medication I'm taking specifically to handle those symptoms. So yeah, the symptoms get a color, and then the medications or the supplements, I assign each of those a black mark or symbol. So maybe just a dot or an X or a check mark or something. That way I can track both of those things at the same time. So yeah, that's my health tracker. I hope that makes sense. And if you guys are still like deciding exactly how you want to plan for 2022, or maybe 2022 is already underway, but you're not totally content with how well your planning setup is actually serving you, I do have some options that I think might be helpful for you. Number one, I have a free digital bullet journal over at my website, rileyautumn.com, and it's for the full year of 2022. And the reason I thought of that now is because for that journal, I made it like super minimal, just very plain monthly, weekly, yearly spreads. But then I have some collections that you can choose to add on. And one of those collections is all about tracking your health. So you can add collections to help you track your health, or to track more of your like mental well-being, as well as like meal planning, fitness. There are others too for like collecting memories and planning events and stuff. So anyways, that's on my website. And then I also do have a printable bullet journal, just like printable bullet journal pages over on my Etsy shop. So again, I will have all those things linked down below in case you're still kind of figuring out the best way for you to plan in 2022. Oh, and I totally forgot to talk about the other page. Okay, so the other page is like the orders I placed or the packages that I'm waiting on. So I've got a column for the item. And then beside that, I just made some little icons. There was a down arrow, and that basically just symbolizes that the package made it to me. Then there was a little camera icon, and that's just for like packages that are sent to me for YouTube content or Instagram content. So I put a dot in that column once I've actually fulfilled the brief that I needed to do with that product. And then the last one was just a check mark to show that it's totally done. So anyways, moving over to the next page, this is going to be a big 2-page YouTube dashboard. So last year in 2021, I just did a 1-page spread for my YouTube channel, and it was helpful, but I feel like it could have been more helpful if I had had more space dedicated to it. So that's what I'm doing here for 2022. And honestly, I don't think YouTube is really the right title here, because this page is going to be used to track things for my Instagram, my Etsy shop, basically everything surrounding like this little bullet journaling business that I'm trying to grow here. So I just wasn't really sure what to call it other than YouTube, because that's what I called it last year. So anyways, again, I used this craft washi tape from Obujo and some white grid paper that I had just lying around to make these little headings. Now on the left side, this is going to be my brainstorming or ideas page. And this is something that I didn't include at all at the start of 2021, but it's definitely something I wanted to include here in 2022. So I'm going to be setting up 4 different boxes here for 4 different like categories of ideas, because yes, my channel is mostly focused on bullet journaling, but there's kind of more within the bullet journaling niche, and I want to make sure that I'm hitting each of those key things. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, I'm just setting up 4 boxes. So each of these boxes is exactly the same as the one I did on my title page. So I made a bit of a wider border around it. And then again, I'm just going to fill it up with some grid. Another thing that I will be doing on my YouTube channel in 2022 is I want to do more giveaways, and particularly more custom bullet journal giveaways. So if you guys missed it, I did a custom bullet journal giveaway right at the end of November this year, and I gave away a journal for all of 2022. And that journal had my 2021 themes in it. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, I'm doing the exact same thing next year. So all of my 2022 themes, I'm going to put into a journal for someone else to use for 2023. So that includes this yearly setup here. I mean, it won't have a YouTube page in it, but it will have like the future log, the health tracker, all using this same theme. And one of you guys here on my channel can win that journal to use in 2023. So that's just another fun thing that I want to do here on YouTube. And of course, if you want to join me for that and just join me for a year full of planning and bullet journal ideas, please do subscribe to my channel and let me know down in the comments what kinds of videos you would like to see me make, because I'm trying to brainstorm those kinds of things right now. So yes, my boxes are first for theme ideas, other bullet journal video ideas, so like a calligraphy video or budget-friendly stationery, all those kinds of things. Then I've got a spot for digital bullet journaling, which I briefly mentioned earlier. I'm hoping that that will be more of a main focus on my channel because it's something that I am so excited about. And then there was also a box just for other ideas. Now on the stats page, I'm just keeping track of stats for like my Etsy, my Instagram, YouTube, and I'm doing that for all of the months, so January till June here in this little chart. So I'm just putting in little icons here for like YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. The other two will be more for finances. I wasn't really sure what icons to do. And then below that, I'm having a little section for growth. So I'm always looking for ways that I can continue to grow my little bullet journal shop, my Instagram account, my YouTube channel. So whenever I come up with things or hear things from other YouTubers or Instagrammers, I'm gonna write those things here so that I can kind of implement those strategies for myself. So going back for a flip through, we've got our 2022 title page, a future log for all 12 months of the year, a monthly goals section, super similar to the future log. Then I've got my when did I last and cleaning trackers, my health tracker and tracking like packages and things that I order, and finally my big YouTube dashboard for the first half of 2022. Thank you all so much for joining me to set up 2022 in my brand new bullet journal. I hope that you guys loved it, and I hope to see you in my next video.